Good evening. The statistics laid out here I know aren't surprising to anyone. As we saw with the video of the 10-year-old being manhandled, it's long been common knowledge that racial discrimination and brutality is a problem with the Sacramento Police Department. From community members' complaints to studies to their own former employees speaking out and even filing lawsuits. The question here is, what can we do about it? And I want you all to really understand the long-term effects that brutality has on the community, especially the Black community. 2 years ago, I experienced this brutality firsthand. Coming here today is really triggering. What it means is that I'm not going to sleep very well tonight. It means my anxiety is going to be high for the next few days, and it means I'll likely have nightmares all week. 2 years ago, after a Stop the Steal protester snuck up and stuck or punched a anti-racist protester, I, along with the victim, was maced in the face. This was extremely painful and could have burned my contacts to my eyes. With no threat of violence, police officers, including Officer Leach, chose to assault community members, including myself, with their batons and bikes. 2 years later, I still have to sleep with my legs elevated as a result of this beating, and I'm still working on rehabbing my hip and my back. Even after this experience, it did not dawn on me to make a formal complaint because my faith in the system has been lost, and I'm also scared of retaliation. As in comparison, I actually got off easy, unlike Nia Love, who lost her eye, and Danny Garza, who suffered traumatic brain damage, all at the hands of Sac PD. These are not isolated incidents. The Sac PD has a policy of comply or die, of neutralize over de-escalate. This does not promote public safety. We need an ordinance that ensures OPSA has the access and the authority, as well as the funding, that they need to be a true oversight body. You guys have hired a very qualified staff of people, but have essentially tied their hands behind their back. People didn't stop complaining because things got better. We stopped complaining because we were literally beat into submission.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Keith Stanton. Keith Samuel, please proceed. Please start the timer.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Samuel. My pronouns are they, them. It's been 16 weeks, four months of community members demanding the council to hear their most marginalized communities' voices, our cries, our screams, our demands. As we play cops and robbers, our cries of injustice are yelled into a void. I think that there is a large disconnect when it comes to the council and the way that we show, that you guys show to your constituents, that you hear and listen to them. Our lived experiences and generational trauma is not a philosophical opinion. The way that we show hurt and pain against the systems that oppress and harm and murder us is not for you to control and police. Our voices and concerns matter as real, historical and present. Harm is happening to people who look like me. If you sing videos of children who look like me cry and beg for officers and saying that they're babies does not make you feel a certain type of way, then I really lack.
You're hurting. We beg you guys every week to listen to us.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Courtney. Thank you for your comments. Courtney, if you'll unmute. Amrit.
Mayor, members of the council, I did not come here with prepared remarks. I came to listen, but yesterday we celebrated Juneteenth, Freedom Day, and today we saw a 10-year-old Black girl in her pajamas handcuffed. I hope that impacts you the way it's impacting a lot of people in this audience. you're in a position where you can do something about it, limited, as the mayor said. But what you just heard today from your police chief is that she doesn't understand the supremacy clause. She doesn't know that the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land. She doesn't understand the Bill of Rights and how they're incorporated to the states and apply here in Sacramento. And some people are saying that they're not shocked, but I am, because that is a much worse situation than I could have ever imagined we were in. So I have very low confidence in what additional training could be provided. I don't know why this isn't all codified already. I don't know why the chief of police doesn't understand the Fourth Amendment. But I hope maybe you can provide some answers. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Wendell Brown.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon or good evening. I'm Dr. Corrine McIntosh-Sacco, licensed psychologist in independent practice, president of the Sacramento Valley Psychological Association, chairperson of the Sacramento County Mental Health Board, and a resident of District 7. Beyond just apathy, the lack of empathy, the lack of concern or regret or remorse about other people's distress that's been demonstrated by a majority of the dais this evening is truly troublesome. Exposure to police violence and use of excessive force has both immediate and lifelong effects on the health and well-being of individuals. Contact with the police, especially if perceived as being unsatisfactory or unfair, is associated with greater stress, poorer health, and suicidality. Even in the absence of physical force, marginalized populations who feel victimized by police through episodes of harassment, aggressive interrogation, and even community-based negative police-initiated interactions report increased depression, substance use disorders, or other manifestations of emotional distress. OPSA's audit report expounds on what health experts have been reporting and what community members have been declaring for years now, that Sac PD stops Black drivers over 3 times as often as white drivers, stops Black pedestrians up to 6 times as often than all other races, and searches Black residents up to 3 times more often as white people, despite being less likely to possess weapons, drugs, or stolen goods. Additionally, use of force by Sac PD against Black people is over 4 times as often as white people. Mayor Steinberg, you stated that the City Council's only authority is through budget, and yet you gave Sac PD a $3.5 million raise last week, bringing their budget to an all-time high of $28 million. You rewarded a police department that, through their aggressive policing strategies, directly harmed our communities characterized by concentrated poverty and racial segregation. You passed a resolution in 2020 to redefine public safety. You have an opportunity to—
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is a phone number 1-800, then Samuel.
Mayor, council, city manager, I didn't come to speak tonight. I came to support the ERG that I'm a member of, but I was moved to get up here this evening to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to keep it quick. The difference between a manual and accountability is common sense. A manual is for training. A policy, it can be enforced. That's the problem, that there's no accountability. So they do need policies. That's what's not being talked about enough, and specifically enough to say that that's wrong with what's wrong with the police department and the challenges that they have. I'm a city employee. I've been a city employee for 37 years, and I will say this as well, and I don't care who's in the room and whether you agree or not. I work with a lot of PD, and a lot of them are really good people. But in passing with PD, in my uniform, I have worked with ones that looked at me in a manner that I knew I wasn't approving of them in my position within the city. And that same person is on the street policing citizens, so I know how that interaction can go. So for me, I was moved from the presentation for OPSA, and I didn't want to say nothing, but I was forced to. The last thing that I'll say is that little 10-year-old girl, it did it for me because I got a daughter. And it moved me to tears when I saw that. And you said the demeanor changed, but it didn't change sufficiently enough because he telling her, you don't run around the house when the police knock on your door. I'm 62 years old. Let somebody come to my house like that night. I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be up under my bed, under blankets, shaking, calling the police to come help me. So it didn't change sufficiently enough for me. And like I said, I didn't come to say nothing, but it moved me that much to get up here and say something. I'll leave you with that.